One small step for man. Contact with a test one.
Hi everybody, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Welcome to just a live stream. It's been a little while since I've done a normal, just classic live stream, and today seems like a pretty fun one to me. This is going to be a fun one because it's going to be a Falcon 9 booster landing back at land. Second one for the year, actually, which is pretty crazy already, considering it's only January. But I wanted to give you guys a little run through, of course, of what we're expecting to see today. And it should be a great launch. These are some of my favorite launches. I'll explain to you guys what's going to be happening. So of course, anytime you want to know about upcoming rocket launches, anytime you have questions about where it's going to be launching from, what it's going to be doing, you know, is it landing? Is it going to be reusing fairings? What's the mission, etc., etc. Go to everydayastronaut.com, click on pre-launch previews or the upcoming launches tab, and you'll read through our pre-launch previews. And this one is going to be taking off today. And as you can tell by my countdown timer in the top right, it's scrubbed. Did it really? Well, that's funny. I guess we'll do this tomorrow. Shoot, that's funny. I even had checked Twitter, and for some reason Twitter was not refreshing on my computer literally like right before I hit go. That is funny. Well, do you guys want to see something kind of fun while we're at it? I mean, we're just hanging out here, I guess, right? I'm gonna say scrubbed. Scrubbed, don't watch. Update, make active, scrubbed. Okay, well, hi. It's been a little while. I hope you guys didn't miss me too much. We are working on a really cool video. I'm trying to get into some of those videos that are more just kind of like overall, like how do rockets work? How does rocket science work? So the first one we did this year was why don't rocket engines melt, or why rocket engines don't melt. The next one we're working on is basically how do you power a rocket engine? So all of the cycle types. Going from, it's basically like, you know, that little 7-minute section of the Raptor video where we go through like open cycle, closed cycle, full flow. It's basically that expanded out, going over all the pros and cons it's like a 50-minute long video with really awesome graphics. It's going to be really fun. So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoy that one. I'm going to change the title too of this thing so that people don't come in here. Scrubbed, don't watch. Save. Man, it's been a while. I'm sorry, guys, of course. But I do want to show you something kind of fun. Yeah, no launch today, but we do have something fun that we're launching soon. Look at this beast. Yeah, this is something I've been working on for about a year now. It's going to be the coolest thing ever. Get ready for this. So this is still just a prototype, so it's not completely finished. But it's going to be the 1058, B1058, which is the booster that took Bob and Doug up for the first crewed Falcon 9 and Dragon mission ever. But here's what I love about this. Check this out. You can actually take this, and this is heavy, by the way. It's like pure metal. So you can open up the landing legs, put in little landing struts. I'm so excited for this. This has been sitting out in my kitchen. And it's going to be the coolest thing ever. Like I said, this is just a working prototype right now. But we're getting very close. Have a few minor tweaks to make. It's like, I bet this is like a full kilo. It's really heavy. It's 2.2 pounds. Sorry for those of you metrically impaired. I can't even get these legs out of the box right now. They're so tight in there. But yeah, you can actually like totally unfold everything. And this is, I think this is my favorite one because it has the NASA meatball logo on it. And that's, I don't know. I think it was just something special. You know, the very first flight ever, at first time SpaceX put humans on any one of their rockets ever, besides Starman, who wasn't quite human. Just super cool. I can't get this last one out of the last little leg thing. It's like stuck in there so tight. I pushed it down in there too far, and now I can't get it out. That might be, we might have to make a change in the way we cut this foam because I literally can't get it out. That's funny. I never thought that would be the case. Look at this. Here, I'll get these out so I don't drop it. Knowing me, I'm going to drop something. But how dope is that? Little Falcon 9, second stage. Yeah, so this landing leg's like completely stuck in here right now. I need like a pen or something. As great as fingernails are, there we go. Pens are just as good. But yeah, so check this out. The cool thing is you can go like this, lower the legs, dot to dot. And then even the grid fins come out and deploy. And you can turn them. They can turn and swivel just like you could be steering them and everything. Pretty freaking awesome. Really, really, really excited to have this. So, yeah, stay tuned. We don't have anywhere near a date for this yet still. As you can imagine, manufacturing, this is the first... We took a big risk on this because we had to make tooling and everything. First time I'm dealing with mass manufacturing or something. But it's going to be really fun. So I hope you guys are excited for that. How are you guys? I think I'm going to leave. Yeah, since there's nothing to do, play Kerbal. Let's see. I could play Kerbal, or I could get back to work and then hopefully get a video out sooner so that tomorrow it looks, you know, so tomorrow we can have more time and hang out better. Play Kerbal. Man, a lot of people want me. I'll show you. Okay, how about this? I'm not going to play Kerbal, but I'm going to show you what I was doing in Kerbal during the last Patreon stream. I'll show that off because I am really, really excited for that. And it went hilariously too well. So let me pull that up. It's going to take a little bit. Kerbal takes like forever to load. And yeah, I'm really excited though. Like I said, I think you guys are going to be really liking these new videos we're producing this year. And the frequency, I hope you guys notice that we're trying to, on average, do about one a month, as opposed to the 5 videos that we were able to produce last year. Oh, by the way, thank you, Musical Wolves. And yes, it is the anniversary. What is it? The 55th anniversary of the Apollo 1 incident. It's still one of the craziest, most tragic incidents. It's one of those moments, I'm sure, in history where the gravity, the weight of what they were actually working on for the Apollo program and for crewed missions finally really, really, you know, set in for maybe the first time. Because there had been close calls especially during Gemini. There had been a couple close calls. But this was, you know, the first time that anyone had died doing any kind of remotely space activity type of thing, at least in the United States. Even though it wasn't in space, it was on the ground, but it was, you know, replicating space environments. They were draining, you know, or a lot of the things, a lot of the systems were prepared as if they were in space, basically. So yeah, it is still one of the saddest tragedies, honestly. But yeah, I'm. Let's see. You guys can't watch this. It says right in the title, don't watch. You can't watch. I don't know what you guys are. I don't know what you're doing. There's 3,000 of you that should not be watching right now. Tisk. Let me pull up what I was doing in Kerbal the other day, though. Good. Not watching. I got scrubbed because of weather, right? I still don't actually know because for whatever oh, there we go. Due to unfavorable weather, now targeting Friday, January 28th at 6:11 Eastern for the launch of Cosmo-Skymed Second Generation FM2. All right, well, there you have it. Meanwhile, I will show you guys what I was working on, and it is very fun, and I'm very proud. When is Kerbal 2? Kerbal 2 is... I can now say after the Soviet rocket engine video. I feel like so many people were like, James Webb Space Telescope, Soviet rocket, and Kerbal and KSP-2 were the things that like would never happen. 2 of them have happened, so hopefully they have some good momentum behind them to get it going soon. But speaking of JWST, take a look at this. Da-dun-da-da-da. Does anybody recognize this? But check this out. This is what I'm most excited about, is I learned how to do the robotic editing stuff. So I can, check that out. How cool is that? It actually deploys like James Webb. This is all stock. Well, it's using the expansion packs. There is a Breaking Grounds expansion pack. But yeah, when you hit play, it actually like all unfurls a lot faster than James Webb did. But yes, and it's not the right amount of layers for the heat shield. I'm going to tweak that up anyway because it's actually becoming too many parts for the robotics, and the robotics are getting really confused. But I was playing with this during the last Kerbal live stream for patrons. I'm probably going to be doing another one. I might actually do another one on Saturday, mostly because I want to work on this, and I'll probably count that as my February one, depending, because February is looking really busy. I'm going to be traveling down to Texas to work on the studio. We got a lot of new gear. Like I said, we're ramping up to increase the quality, the bandwidth, the studio space of our Mars studio. It's going to actually be like a proper studio space. Like the whole idea, we never had time last year, was to actually build like a studio. And that's what it's going to be for. By the time they have the booster ready, we're going to have a brand new studio that looks like legit. I mean, we're talking like, proper everything. It's going to be awesome. But look at this. I also made it. So there we go. Oh, see, one of the things borked. But these even fold in and everything. It's going to be able to fit within a tiny little thing. And for some reason the controllers are not working properly. But pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. Yeah, so there you go. So I guess if you are a patron or a YouTube member, join me on Saturday maybe. I don't know for sure yet. Still working on scheduling. But maybe Saturday afternoon Central. So like, what would that, like 18-ish UTC or somewhere around there? I don't know. I will do I'll maybe finish this up and try to launch this and see if we can do as well as Northrop Grumman and NASA and Ariane Space, as well as they did, because they knocked it out of the park. James Webb has been just so fun to watch along with. So, any other questions? Why don't we answer a couple questions here while we're not doing anything? Since you're here for some reason, let me know if you guys have any questions. I can't even get our chat system working either. So, let's see. Just a Space Nerd says, love the Soviet video. Was wondering if you are making an American engine video and maybe a China one, and then maybe one for the rest of the countries. Yeah, I'll definitely do a US one maybe in a year. I don't think it's gonna be on the list this year. Like I said, this year I'm really trying to get through like the basics. Like, why don't rocket engines melt? How do you power a rocket engine with engine cycles? How do injectors work? How do you start a rocket engine? What are orbits? How do you all of that kind of stuff? All of those. Little bit more kind of, not necessarily entry level, because that's the funny thing is I don't consider myself entry level anymore at this point. I definitely don't consider myself an expert at anything spaceflight yet, but I think I'm well enough rounded to maybe know where I'm at in the Dunning-Kruger effect of life. And I understand that, I know enough to know what I don't know now, finally, right? And that being said, there's still a lot of the stuff that confuses me. I've been working on this stuff, studying spaceflight for 5 or 6 years now. And there's still a lot of stuff that confuses me. So even though these are maybe like beginner's guide or like a complete guide to aerospace and to rocket science, it's not beginner stuff at all. But it can take beginners. I think if you guys watch the Why Don't Rocket Engines Melt video, hopefully that sets that tone. I think that video is fantastic for anyone. Period. I don't care if you don't care at all about spaceflight. You should get something out of it. And if you do care a lot about spaceflight, I had so many people tell me that, they've been following for years, and this answered so many questions for them. I'm like, that's exactly what I want. I want to be able to dive in deep enough that even the nerdiest of spaceflight fans like me and you can get something out of it and learn and have fun. So I'm really excited to do a whole bunch more like that. So it's gonna be really, really cool. Let's see here. Thank you, Clemens. You guys don't have to do super chat. I was just going to be reading the normal chats. How can we tell in advance which direction a SpaceX launch will go? Like up the East Coast, south, towards Africa, etc. So you can do a little bit of that stuff by going and looking at where they publish the actual like NOTAMs or like the flight path. But we also let you know, I think, in our launch. So this. We should be putting, that'd be cool if we could start a website crew, an idea. We should be putting the flight path up. That'd be really fun. Even like a cool graphic or data from Flight Club or something. We should probably be putting up some graphic indicating which direction it's going to be flying from. But other than that, you kind of just need to know. That's what's weird. So this one in order to digest this one, for instance, the launch that was supposed to happen today, you would have to know that Launch Complex 40, Cape Canaveral, Florida, obviously that's East Coast, but this is actually going slightly retrograde. It's actually going to be going slightly backwards. 90. So the sun-synchronous orbit is technically a little bit beyond 90 degrees. So 90 degrees would be over the poles. So 0 degrees would be along the equator. 90 degrees is up and down along the poles. And anything beyond 90 degrees is actually becoming retrograde. You're actually going opposite the rotation of the Earth. And this is really crazy because they're actually able, the Falcon 9 is so good, they can dogleg and do this big maneuver around the Caribbean islands and still launch south from Kennedy Space Center. So, yeah, so that's something to keep in mind is that you can have launches going like really, really due south. So, we should probably be doing something like that on our website. Yeah. Let's see. Can you explain how something can orbit an empty point in space at L2? So what's happening? L2. Imagine you have like these big gravity fields. Imagine you have. Let's see. How can I explain this? So like when you're in a really big orbit around the Earth, at some point, if you get far enough out, you actually get to the point where you break free of the sphere of influence of Earth. So the gravitational pull from Earth is too weak, and now you are drifting away from Earth, right? That's escape velocity. So you can reach escape velocity by being, right at the edge. Like your orbit could be really high. At the same time, you could also be at a point where, so you could be just below that, where you're still orbiting Earth. But you could also be at a point where the sun actually has the exact same amount of pull as you. And so the sun is also pulling on you with that same force. So now you're kind of like figure skating almost in between these two gravitational pulls. And because they're both pulling on you equally, you also have, so that's like, imagine on a two-dimensional plane, imagine that, the Earth's orbit is this way, and like the Earth is orbiting the sun like this, and here's the sun in the middle. Those two orbital gravitational fields will interact like this, but they're actually balls. They're actually a sphere. So where those two spheres will intercept, you can kind of gradually orbit around that three-dimensional sphere. That's really hard to explain. I'm doing a terrible job. That's one for the orbits video. When I make a video about orbits, I'll definitely do that. I'll definitely do that when I do a video about orbits, explain Lagrange points, because they're really weird. They're really weird. It's really weird. And I don't know them very well, so I definitely better study up. Innocent Raptor, really good to hear from you, my friend. How are you? Please do more live streams. Sincerely, everyone. I do want to do at least 1 or 2 live streams a month. I had a big dry spell last year when we were working on the Soviet video, and it just really sucked. We can breathe easy. I know. Like, I know now how. Like, I remember my friend Amy Shira Title, who runs the Vintage Space on YouTube. She was working on a book for like 2.5 years, and she was working like when you have, a passion project that you're working on, and then that your like YouTube channel is kind of dying because you're putting so much effort into this. You have a lot of stress to like get it done, and trust me, no one had more stress to get that Soviet rocket engine video done than I had on myself. So I'm really glad that that's over, because we are back to regularly scheduled programming, and it's been awesome. I can't wait for you guys to see some of the stuff that we're working on. It's going to be fun because we're doing, for this cycle video on how to power a rocket engine, we're doing those similar really simple graphics like I did in the Raptor engine video, but we're also spicing them up. Casper Stanley is doing still very simple but 3D rendered versions of these things, so we can kind of zoom around a little bit more and watch them. And I think that's going to help a lot, because I'm a big fan. I really think the best way to learn something is to start really easy, get that, then add more detail and get that, answer those questions of okay. I think we're going to be able to do that with this video. We're going to be able to just kind of add layers and then show good examples of how they work. And I think it's going to be awesome. Let's see. I don't know if we know anything like that. I'm trying to see. Why is SpaceX landing more boosters on landing zones and not ASDS? So first off, that's a really good question. So for those of you that don't know, this will be the second time that this year, just in January, that SpaceX will be landing their Falcon 9 on the ground, right? Instead of on their drone ship, or their ASDS, Autonomous Spaceport Drone Ships, which is unusual. Normally it's like we'll see 1 out of every 20 launches or something will land on landing zone 1 on ground. Well, first off, anytime they want to land on land. It's cheaper. You don't have to have a fleet of all of these, seaworthy vehicles, all of the gas, all of the operation costs, all of the people on board for days and days and days. Imagine those people are paid quite well to do that. They're, trained people in a fairly dangerous environment. In a specialized environment. So it's expensive. The sea assets likely cost, I don't know, we'll say a couple million, $3 or $4 million. So anytime you can not have to land on I totally made up a number there. It could be 10 million. It could be 1 million, half a million. I have no idea. Some amount of money. So it's cheaper to land back at land. You also then don't have to worry about the weather, when you land back at land, because if it's good enough to launch, it's probably within the same criteria to land. And sea states, not just wind states, the actual sea, how big the waves are, makes a really big difference when you're trying to land on the drone ship, right? I can take these off. I'm not going to be hearing anything. So it doesn't, the sea states, if you have big, large waves, even if it's not windy, can rock the drone ship so much. And they have lost a booster, 2 boosters now in total, 2 nasty. I think technically they've only lost 1. They just recently had one get banged up really bad on the way back in. So that brings up the question, then why do they land on the drone ship? Okay, let's do a little thought experiment. We have our handy dandy Falcon 9 here now. So let's pretend you have your second stage, right? The second stage is a fixed amount of propellant. The first stage has a fixed amount of propellant. They each have a potential to perform work, right? So the less mass they have to push around for your payload, the more work the second stage. So we actually want to work backwards. This is the easiest way to do this. Okay, we're going to just start over. The easiest way to do this is think about your payload. You have to get your payload, in this case a Dragon capsule, 28,000 kilometers an hour, 17,500 miles an hour. Ignore for now altitude, ignore any of that other stuff. You have to get this thing going 28,000 kilometers an hour, right? So let's say this can do, I'll make up some numbers, 20,000 kilometers an hour because of how light it is, right? We'll pretend that this second stage can push this for 20,000 of those 28,000 kilometers, right? Well, guess what? Now we can take that and say, okay, this has to do 8,000 kilometers. This has to speed it up by 8,000 kilometers. That's how much velocity the first stage has to do. Now, we can say, well, actually, look at that. There's actually, if this only has to do 8,000 kilometers with this much payload, we actually have like half of the fuel left over. We might as well turn it around all the way back, do a landing or do a re-entry burn and a landing burn. We have enough fuel. Or it might be the case of like, we only have about a 15% of our fuel. That's barely enough to actually be able to re-enter and land. We don't have enough to do that boost back burn where we turn around. So basically, let's say now you have a heavier thing. Say this is twice as heavy. Now this thing can only go, I don't know, let's say 15,000 kilometers an hour. That means this has to do the other 13,000 kilometers an hour of work, right? Or acceleration up to that velocity. That amount that it has to perform basically will let you know what can you do with that first stage, right? So if your payload is X amount, your second stage can only do a certain amount. Your first stage, you're always going to fill it up all the way with fuel. No matter what, it makes no sense. Fuel costs are such a small, tiny margin. You'll never not fill a rocket all the way up. You always want to just have it, full to the brim. So there's always going to be a certain amount of work the second stage can do. And depending on how much work the first stage has to do in order to get that payload into space, that right there lets you know how much like leftover work can the Falcon 9 booster do. If it has enough fuel left over, they prefer to land it back at land. If it doesn't, then the next best thing is to let it, instead of turning it around, just let it keep falling and follow its ballistic trajectory and land on the drone ship. So yeah, that's kind of how that works, and it's pretty cool. That'll be in a video someday, a better video. I have an old one about it, but it's really bad. So in this case, the ones you're seeing land at the landing zone 1 are very lightweight payloads. Diego says we should be doing separate launch pad models of the rocket too. We want to do. Here's the cool thing. We're doing something that's kind of weird in the industry, which it shouldn't be. This is exactly 1/100th. If you scale this up 100 times, it would be the size of the Falcon 9 booster, which means it's 70 centimeters tall. And the real one is, of course, 70 meters tall. So we're going to try and do a whole collection of like all of the most popular rockets. At least like my goal would be to get like a dozen popular rockets to this same scale. So you can have your own rocket garden and they all actually are the same scale. Unlike my rocket garden, none of these are to scale. And that really, really bugs me. It really bugs me that they all don't line up. They should all line up. Like why do, like some of these like 107 to 1, 108 to 1, one are like, 110 to 1. These are 1 to 7 or 72 to 1. Why not just 1/100? It's nice and easy. That means that the Saturn V is going to pretty much be, a little bit over a meter tall. It's going to be big, but yeah, so it'll be really fun to like get the Saturn V and the Space Shuttle and Buran and N1 and, Falcon Heavy and Ariane 5. I mean, it'll be really, really fun. So, when fancy Falcon Block 5 model metal version launch? We don't know yet. When the manufacturing is all figured out. We've got a few more tweaks to make. I'm hoping for this spring for sure. Definitely N1. I want the N1 more than anything. And a Soyuz N1, Ariane 5. I mean, those would be really, really cool to see. Atlas 5, of course, Delta 4 Heavy. Imagine seeing all of those to scale in high detail next to each other. Delta 2. Oh, Delta 3, that'd be fun. That's such a weird one. No, it's scrubbed, guys. That's why it says scrub, don't watch, and it says scrubbed right here. Yeah. Oh, how do yeah. We won't be 3D printing. This is metal. This thing is cast metal. It is very solid. It's not going anywhere. That was the other thing. For me, I wanted them to be like durable. I wanted them to be just not something that you can't handle. I don't want them to break because no offense to like any of these models, but I will never touch any model back here because I'm terrified of breaking it. And I don't want that. I want this to be able to be something that can be like, oh yeah, well cool. And like, did you hear that? There we go. Yeah, it's metal. So that was the idea, is like mass produce these things so they actually are durable. So it's going to be really fun. Yeah. ASDS would be super, super cool. Well, the lipstick rock would be cool. Well, guys, I think I'm actually going to get out of here, honestly. Yeah. We don't have a cost yet, but we had a lot of upfront costs. A lot more than I'd like to admit. We have a lot into it, and it's been over a year in the making. Just so you guys know, like when we do these, the first run will probably be more expensive than our next run because we have a huge risk. They will be a founder's edition, though. I'm going to include a certificate in the first run of them, a signed certificate, numbered signed certificate, knowing they're probably going to be more expensive than the other ones going forward. So assuming it goes well and we don't sit there, and have 7 years to pay off our manufacturing costs on these things, then we'll go into the next ones, and we'll hopefully be able to do another run and lower the price and all that kind of stuff. But the first run's it'll be under 400, which is cheaper than most rockets of anywhere near the size and anywhere near this detailed, and definitely more durable than all of them, and more like modular and better packaged. And I mean, they're going to be cheaper than the competition, but still not as cheap as I would like. I was trying to get them down to like 300, but I don't think we're going to get there. So yeah. Yeah. I mean, comparable rockets, frankly, are 700, 800, 550. It might be like as low as you find a pre-assembled, painted, nice rocket. Yeah. We have to sell a lot just to break even. I think it's like, oh God, I don't even remember. Well, we don't have the numbers yet, but it's hundreds. We have to move hundreds and hundreds of units to even begin to potentially break even on just the manufacturing cut, like the molds. Forget like our time into it, which has been more than I'd like to admit. Yeah. So it is, honestly, this first run is a really big risk because it's still kind of expensive. I know that, under 400, sub 400 is that's expensive. I mean, period. But I think it's going to be the best model rocket you can buy. And I think it's going to be the nicest quality. And the coolest thing is when there's a whole set of them to the same scale, it's going to be the coolest thing in the world. So, yeah, hopefully it works out. Bear with me. When, like I said, we don't know. Whenever it makes sense to. I'm hoping for this spring. We've got some more. Yeah. Why was the launch scrub? Bad weather. What did I say? Bad weather? Bad weather. I'm gonna get out of here, guys. I might as well get some work done. So yeah. We'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, 6:11 Eastern so 5:11 Central. So what is that? 23:11 UTC. There we go. 23:11 UTC Friday night. So basically 24 hours from now, we'll see you guys. And hopefully we see a beautiful launch with a return to launch site landing. One of the coolest things you can see, period. And the cool thing is my parents are in Florida. I'm trying to talk them into driving over to the Cape. Glad they didn't drive today. I'm guessing tomorrow's weather looks a lot nicer. So, all right. Thank you everyone for stopping in. Tomorrow will be a lot more fun. Join me on an awesome Friday night for some fun live stream launching. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Goodbye, everybody.